These have been a pretty irritating last couple of days. To give you a recap, my brother came over this weekend. Um, it's actually a running gag that he'll sleep so late that I'll just stream like in the morning while he's sleeping. So he came over, and about a week or 2 weeks ago, Peacock, which is a streaming service, put up the Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, right? Which are, you know, this really well liked trilogy I've talked about before. And, um, I don't have a TV that has the, you call it, somewhere I can like put the DVD in, right? So even if I owned all three on DVD, I still couldn't play it. So I was excited for him to see it, and he didn't come over last weekend because of some stuff that was out of his control. I go on there this weekend, they don't have it anymore. And that's actually not the first time I've seen Peacock put something on there and then get rid of it after like a month, 2 months. But it is the first time I've seen them get rid of something after not even 3 weeks. Um, and it's really irritating because the so like most Marvel stuff falls under the umbrella of just being Marvel Studios, and then they licensed out to Disney when they got bought by them back in, what was that, 2009? But with certain properties, whether it's Fantastic Four, X-Men, or Spider-Man, there's more murkier issues. So, for example, Sony won't authorize the release of the films on Disney Plus, but you have like certain shows on there. Also, if you can hear that, I'm very sorry. I just very loud for no reason. I'm very apologetic. They just all day long, every day, it's like this. So loud. Like, imagine having a device that you just talk into and just screaming and going crazy. And unfortunately, even though I don't, use that much profanity on here, I'm probably gonna get demonetized because of something insane that person says in the background. So whatever. Um, but it really sucks because I was trying to watch that stuff with them or watch those with them, and I couldn't because they took off movies that they just put on not even 3 weeks ago. Um, That's just the big issue I have with streaming services, and it's not really with all of them, but with some of them where they have these fluctuating deals and copyright. So, what's the point of signing up for a service if they are just going to get rid of something a week or a year later? So, and I'm really tired of this. And I'm just sick of a lot of stuff. You look at YouTube and you have these people who will say, "Oh, you should do this type of video," and then you do that type of video, and then it either barely gets any views. I mean, it's the same old song, but it's just really comedic that when you try to satisfy those that claim to like your stuff and they still don't come and watch it, it really is like, what's the point? Because they set you up to put in a lot of work on something that they don't, usually actually, give some kind of backing to. I mean, I saw that on that last DVD video. I didn't even get 30 views on that. And again, it's like, you try to offer a different type of content, stuff that people will say they like, and they just won't do it. And it's funny. I was watching Secular Talk about maybe a week or two ago, and he was talking about how people, like the YouTube algorithm messes up channels, and they can't get any bigger because of that. But I always say that, my opinion, because I do believe the algorithm plays a role in some of this stuff. I think a big part of it, why people just can't get any bigger is because you have a lot of useless subscribers. You have people that will click a button and then vanish, or people who, even if they watch your stuff, they won't leave any comments. Um, just a complete lack of engagement. And that's why I always remember that one time I did a stream, what must have been 2 or 3 years ago. And, this is before YouTube, we got rid of the dislikes. And around the time when I finally just decided to stop even bother showing them, I had one like from myself and one downvote from, some random person, like troll or whatever. And it was funny because they did the same thing I hate so much, which is if someone makes a stream or a video talking about something, and the only thing you can do is address the title because you're such a lazy bastard. They respond to the title. I'm like, isn't it sad that the troll is more engaging with my stuff than people who actually like it? Like they left a comment and they, click the buttons. Like it's really pathetic. So ever since then, I've just always known that this website and people claiming they like your stuff are all over the place. But they always tell you just keep on pressing, just keep making more stuff, keep getting the same results, and just don't get pissed. I remember I had this one clown come on my stream talking about every time I hear you talk, you sound like you're upset about doing YouTube. So why do you even do it? But it's really irritating that people can't be bothered to click on stuff, and it's just another part of that same process of having someone be expected to do like that. That's a big part of the reason why I never ended up doing that one, like, what was it, Dragon Ball script I had where it was supposed to be like a little show or something, like a pilot, and then we would see like how we if we would do any more of it depending on how many views it got. It's like, yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and draw something out, do was it 500, 600 pictures just for 20 or 30 views, and for people who claim they like this stuff to not even leave any comments. And there was a part of me that accepted this idea that oh, if someone's not into this type of stuff, whatever. But even if you do something they like, they still won't leave any comments. I do a DVD video, people who say they don't like politics still won't leave any comments. So it's just really a head scratcher, in terms of just getting people to like certain stuff. And it's gotten to a point where I said, maybe I should just stop streaming. If that's the only way to get people to understand that, you can't just ignore everything else somebody does, then that's another option there. Because a lot of times when I try to do a stream, it's not exactly entirely at my convenience. You got evidence of that behind me. So it's um it's just something that it seems like it's more trouble than it's worth. Yeah, I just wish people weren't so loud. And you see this every day with this person, unfortunately. That's why I always say, when I die, knowing that I never have to see this person is one of the things I look forward to. Because they're very lacking in any redeeming qualities. They're very hypocritical. I don't find them intelligent at all, and really they just have a lot of benefits that come from this what do you call it, pass that a lot of chicks get. Where they can get some man to take care of them. They can get some man to do a whole bunch of stuff that if the situation were reversed, a woman would never do for you. Um, they get a lot of advantages off of that. And it really sucks because I always try to explain to people that the way I look at chicks is this: if you have to engage in activities that you find to be ridiculous just for someone to show you the slightest bit of interest, it's not worth it. Like I always imagine um the idea of going to the gym, right? This exercise regimen crap these people on here talk about. And then, some woman who's never exercised a day in her life gets to say whether she likes you. And I'm like, that's really ridiculously unbalanced. Like, what the hell would I look like if I lived in a cardboard box and I said to some woman, "Oh, you need to you're a millionaire? Well, I'm now going to decide whether or not I like you." Who does that sound appealing to? And even the worst part of it is that we even have these guys on here who are so not even confident of their own, BS system, right? It's always like a Charlie Brown episode with these broads. Oh, dude, look, I haven't been making edited videos because my computer's been acting up, which is another issue with being a content creator. Just all kind of little background behind the scenes fiascos. But there's two broads I talk to now. And I haven't made any kind of romantic pass toward them. And there's like this weird erotic subtext where you've got one broad talking about we are two people who talk at each other rather than to each other. I'm like, what are you talking about? All because I told this person I don't want to tell you about personal things about myself because I do not know you that well. Never even heard this broad's voice, and she's surprised. I'm like not receptive to opening up to her. Like, and again, it's like, what's the point? We've done that. I can show plenty of conversations in the past with different chicks where you tell them something about yourself. You let you lower your guard down. Remember, we had this same meme before. You're every time you talk to a new woman, you're opening the window. Like, oh, maybe it won't be as bad as it was before. Maybe it won't be as awful. And then right there, when they block you, ban you, say, oh, I just like you as a friend. I don't think we have whatever, So yeah, I feel very vindicated to not so easily start telling some broad about personal stuff about me. Sorry, too many of them lie and pretend to be interested in someone and then don't actually follow it up. So they can get mad, they can cry, they can, you know, show all their tears, but I don't care. Yeah, it is wow. I couldn't believe it. Like, you're really gonna sit here and tell me that I'm supposed to trust some random chick on the computer who won't even let me hear her voice? Yeah, what is the point of sitting here and trying to, I guess, supposedly get to know one of them if they're just gonna do the same thing again and again? So many times, yes. But what is the purpose of releasing compromising information about yourself to a person who is part of a group of people that have in the past and very commonly stabbed you in the back? I'd love to know. Not all women. It's not all of them. It's enough of them. That's what I say. And again, if somebody else wants to go and talk to them, I have no issue with that. You do what you want. That's why you don't see me in anybody's comment section demanding that they stop talking to chicks because I couldn't care less. It's just the idea that like people really don't get why you don't want to bother with them. And a lot of times you speak to them, even if it's not romantic, they're like writing all this nebulous crap about you don't understand me and we don't go any for like the stuff she was writing sounds like something out of like a failed English class lit. Like if you had an assignment to write like a short story about I don't know somebody trying to grow closer to another person. Like that's the stuff that she was typing. Like, come on, just I had another broad that sent a picture I drew. And it was weird because for like the last couple of days, she would respond, maybe in a couple of hours, a day, whatever. And then she didn't respond for like a whole week. And she was online, for this whole week. And I didn't say anything until after a few days or something. And I was like, are you going to say anything? And she's like, oh, yeah, I've just been busy. And I said, why is it every time one of them says they're so busy, they always have their settings on Piscord enabled to where you can see that they're online for hours every you know what I mean? Like, why is it that like a and my theory is that she got because so I mentioned this on my other stream. This chick, there's a lot of broads on the online that are like against doing phone calls for whatever reason. It's really weird. I don't understand it. This one is not against doing VCs, which are the Discord equivalent of a phone call, but she won't talk during it. Like she'll always just play some stupid game, and if she's speaking, she's like commenting on what's happening in her match. And I'm like, this is really boring. Like I don't get in a call with someone that they can hear me, talk to myself. Basically, it's weird. So that was really interesting because that's the first one that turned me off. For like now, I don't even want to speak to her voice to voice. I don't care if I ever hear her voice again. This is boring. Like, what would I look like? Oh, this person's calling me. Oh, I missed. Oh, I dodged. Who wants to talk to someone doing that? Like, I'd love to know. Of course, she couldn't offer an explanation for why she does this, but I gave I kind of confronted her over this, and then that's when she suddenly stopped responding. Yes, that was a real big coincidence. No, I was very disappointed with James. He wouldn't back me up the last time he showed up on my stream. He was trying to appease other different people. He was trying to play both sides and be fair and balanced like Fox News. Yeah, I might end up making a video on them. Just if it is, though, it won't be on like once because none of them are just like standing out, like doing like the one I did in October or was that September was really insane. Like that was nuts. Sitting there for 4 hours talking to somebody like that just for it to go nowhere. Um, so if any of the ones currently or like in the last couple of months ever get a video on them, it will be like as a group, like a lovely batch of insane people on Discord or something like that. I just thought it was really funny this inversion. Like usually you ask the broad for a VC or a call and she turns you down, and then this one is open to doing it, but every time you speak to her, all she does is play her stupid game on her phone or on her computer or whatever other device she's using. I swear you can never just have a call with that. Like, and what's so weird is that if you're in some group call where it's like three, four, five, which I don't like, by the way, because I find myself barely being able to talk when it's multiple other people and whatever. That's just my issue. Um, she will occasionally bring up something personal about herself, but even then, that's very rare, and you can't even respond because you got another five voices talking over you. So it's just really unappealing. I guess that's like the mantra of chicks, like just really unappealing. Hey, it is a Charlie Brown episode with with them. Like I can imagine you're like, hey, can we have a call where you don't, play games and actually speak to me? Wah, 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 wah. That's what she hears. And then with the other one, hey, can you not write weird crap and actually, talk to me like a human being and not some, Shakespeare reject? Wah, 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 wah. No, this has been a really strange saga. I don't know. I just think chicks are really weird, and I think a lot of people accept them for these like character quirks because of their gender. Um, I think that if they were men, or at least if males participated in a lot of the stuff they do, people would rightfully call them out for just bizarre stuff, like things that are like don't make any sense. Like for example, if James right said, "Hey, can we have a call on Discord?" Or if Jim said, "Hey, can we have a call on Discord?" and I agreed to have this call with him, whether it's me and him alone or me and him and like another person. I really do not like group calls, like whatever. So let's pretend it's me and him alone. And the whole call is me doing this while he's talking. Just would you really find that appealing? Like that's someone you want to speak to? A person who for whatever reason cannot just like I guess what's so interesting, right, is that it really is like them always having some unique, weird character quirk. Like there are a lot of chicks I've spoken to that I didn't think were funny. I didn't think were entertaining. You even had one of them threaten to never speak to me by a call again. I said I couldn't care less because you're boring. But almost none of them were so what's the word? Like I guess gung ho about playing some game that when you talk to them, they won't even address what you're saying. It's not even just the phone, it's the computer, it's any other device you can get their hands on. I'm like, look, I don't care if you want to do this in your own privacy, but if it makes it to where you won't even respond to what I'm saying, then there's no point in talking to you. Like it's extremely rude. Just like I was in another server that I ended up leaving after about maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Where there was a chick that like I was in a call with who tried to make fun of me for calling my grandma like tried to was like, oh, he's got to call his grandma. It was really weird, and it was also another one of those things where I was like, yeah, I'm definitely getting out of here. If you can try to make fun of somebody for that, you know, like leave it to the internet to make calling one of your favorite relatives, one of the people that raised you and took care of you, a bad thing. Like that's it's really hilarious. And then they always try to say, "Oh, I was just joking." Like, well, my joke is I'll be clicking that leave server button, and I did. What a bizarre thing to like make fun of someone over. Like I've seen people get made fun of for not being wealthy or owning something, but I'm gonna make fun of you because you call one of your most beloved, significant relatives. Really, I think it's amazing just how people can always twist something into being a thing to mock another person over. Like, what's next? Are you gonna try to make fun of me for helping an old lady cross the street? Like it's just weird. And it's so funny that like people online always find a way to justify rude, ridiculous stuff. Like this guy's like, oh, don't you shouldn't get so mad. I was like, listen, dude, I don't. If people want to insult me over the way I play a game, even though I think it's unnecessary because I don't go around making fun of the way people, whatever. But you're not going to sit here and try to make fun of me for calling one of the eight most significant people in my life. Like like this overarching, more important person to me than damn near anybody else. You're not going to insult or make some kind of like weird comments about, and then not expect me to retaliate. This is such a snide thing to do. I'm sorry, but if he did this to me in person, I'd slap the taste out of his mouth. Watch me get the money for reading that. No, it was a chick that said that. There was a guy in that same server who because I would play with these two other people, right? And one of the things they did that would piss me off is that they would never tell me when they were playing. I have to look on if you have Discord, the computer, they let you know like if you're in the same server on your friend list that they're in a VC or like if they're in a call, right, in that server that you share with them. And I said to them, why don't you just tell me that you're playing if you apparently enjoy playing with me? And they ended up doing it after I requested that they do that. I don't know why at the time, whatever. Um, but then this other guy who's like, I guess 13, 14, is like, are these your only friends? And, I thought to myself, and I ended up muting this kid, and there was another person who ended up cursing him out. But I said, that's such an extremely rude, ridiculously nasty thing to say to a person you've never met before. Megumi, you want to call one of your favorite relatives that took care of you? Just weird. No, there's no justification for it. Remember, these are people I've barely ever spoken to before, and if I have, they're the ones who throw out the first insult. Seriously, you really had some screwed up experiences on Discord. Very unfortunate. I mean, let's look at the last what is it, 5 months, 6 months, I guess. No, September would be that's the end of September. So October, November, December, and then start let's look at the last 4 months. A woman that sits in a call with you for 4 hours saying all this sexual trash about you can come to her country and perform whatever activity on her, and then it goes nowhere, right? A broad who has some kind of weird thing where she'll do a VC with you, but then she'll play a stupid game and won't even talk to you. A server where a person can get accused of harassment by a person who's not even the one they were supposedly harassing. And then the mods are so awful, they'll just mute you without even like investigating, period. So yeah, I'm really glad I'm not really, like I lost a lot of luster for that site 2 years ago, and it's just been, revalidated. I watched your latest Saturday SmackDown. It was insane. So incredibly rude. If someone is just focusing on their phone and not respond to what I'm saying, I'll just leave. Yeah, that's why every time I see her in the VC and she in her server, she'll be in there for like 4, 5, 6 hours. I won't even bother going in. What's the point? So she can say like three things to you every 30 minutes. Like it's stupid. And that's really impressive because usually if there's someone that I like speaking to, right, and I see them in a call, I'll join it so I can interact with them. And it's so weird because if you type stuff to her, she responds. Like she'll actually address what you're saying. Like it's like two different people. It's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Like imagine how insane it would look. You send me some messages, I respond to them, whatever. Then if we have a call, this is me, the whole call. Oh man, I missed. This person got away. Come back here. Come back here. It's like two different people. I don't care. I'll slap a woman too. Equal rights. I mean, I'm not one of these people that tries to be chivalrous. I already told you I'm done with any kind of advantage. Like if I treat somebody exceptionally well, it's because of the way they treat me in the past, not their gender. So if you want to do that or you feel that way, you're not going to see me protest. I was just simply correcting you on the fact that it was a chick that did that, which is pretty ironic because people always say women are more empathetic towards others. Like, yeah. I watched your latest Saturday SmackDown. It was insane, so incredibly rude. People online that should be their like main character trait. I second that. That's so rude to do to someone. Shows your lack of interest in the person you're in a call with. Well, like as a joke last night, I was like, "This is the last call we will ever have, or this is the last time you will get a message from me." And I made sure to like put, like when you write it in such an over dramatic way, and then you like stick some emoji at the end of it, and then I like it's designed. It's a gag, and then you also put like a little like song of rhymes at the end of it. She actually asked me, "Are you being serious?" And I sent her the face palm image. Like, why would if I wanted to stop speaking to you, why would I not first, not unfriend you, second, send you a rhyme, third, write some like really over dramatic message, like, oh my God, they fall just. By the way, if I wanted to stop speaking to someone, I don't announce, I just unfriend them. I know plenty of people. Like, if I every time I try to say hello to you, you don't respond for like a month or 2 months, that's it. You know. And yeah, that's such a huge shift in her personality. She writes paragraphs and DMs, but when you get in a call with her, she hardly says anything and plays her game instead of talking to you. She really doesn't care or interested in talking to you. Glad you left. Respect. No, I didn't. That one. So that one is still on my friend list, and they'll still like occasionally say something, but like actually trying to get in a call with her because I'll see her in her server in a call for hours. I won't even go in. You should have seen her excuses. Well, if I'm playing with someone, I'm naturally going to talk more. So I was like, but you do that even in other servers where you don't even know these people. I'm telling you, right after I confront her over that, she stopped saying anything for like a whole week. That bro been talking to me every day for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then suddenly she vanished after getting confronted. What a big coincidence. Also, she's another one of those people that I do think is physically attractive. Of course, I would never, say that, but it's like that's why it's all the more weird that she's on, Tinder. It's like, what? Why do you use this stupid? What? I don't know, man. I just think chicks are so insane when they go on there. I want a partner that treats me with respect. That's why I'm going to go on there. stupid horny website where everybody just wants to whatever. I'm not even. We've already been down that road. It's just a really weird contradiction to me. Like, get out of my face with that, you know? I'm swiping left and I'm swiping right. And a lot of these chicks are so dumb they can't even fly a kite. It is kind of funny. Like now, it's me that mostly is like, okay, I'm done with these. That's always the part that was really interesting. That people will say, like you're so this, that, and the other, and then even the chicks that are like pissing me off still try to get me to speak to them. Like the one broad that was like trying to hold a VC hostage. Like I will not have a VC with you if you don't. It's like I don't care. You're boring. She was on my friend list for like a whole month. I didn't even bother saying anything to her because of how annoying she was. So over there telling me about your tragic backstory that nobody asked for, and then accuse me of making you tell me it from across the world or something. All kind of weird stuff. It's trying to make me out to be Jean Grey and uh, mentally manipulated her to tell me about her past. Get out of here. Top right, she sees correspondence with you after you confront her on her bad behavior toward you, an easy cop out. Yeah, they love doing that, the little disappearing act. It's so funny that every time they try to confront me over something, I'll address it, right? And then if you confront them over something that you don't like, they can't. That's why I said it's just a bunch of double standards. The one that I never heard the voice of, it was like trying to get mad at me because I wouldn't tell her personal stuff about myself. Is like, uh, oh, what was that? What was that trash she said? We are two people that talk at each other instead of to each other. No need to go further beyond basic existence. I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're gonna say that I supposedly levy playful accusations. I was like, all right, then don't talk to me. Like, damn, if I'm doing all this bad stuff and I'm so sinister, then just get lost. Of course, I didn't say that because I'm not about to sit here and get into some big art. I just said, look, if you feel offended, I'm sorry, but I don't know what else you want. Like, if I was so bad, why you been talking to me for 2 months, huh? Because I was getting ready to drop her after, like, it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. She did something that irritated me, where she was like, I don't know, I'm so tired of chicks not being able to do basic stuff. Like, why is a call so, uh, like taboo? Like, you'll be surprised how many of them will not do a call. Like they'll write 900 messages, but if you want to do a call, my voice, I don't like the way this sounds. I like Jesus Christ, man, stupid. I just don't understand why something as simple as that they can. And it's not even just that one by herself. There's more that are like that. Like I have screenshots of at least 3 or 4 different chicks on that stupid site being against ever doing a call, and their reasons range from I don't know you. And one matter of fact, let me unfriend her right now. I'm tired of that broad. You don't need to know somebody to hear their voice. It's dumb. The other one, it was like, oh, my voice sounds like a mouse or something. It's like, dude, just every time they always have an excuse or some weird quirk or whatever. I'm just sick of it. This person wants to do a call with me. Reminds me of when they try bringing up 99 reasons to why they won't give you a chance to go on a date. Remember what the computer clowns say. Nobody owes you anything. They don't have to have a reason. They don't have to date you if they don't want to. It's like, I mean, okay, but then by that logic, I don't have to talk to them if I don't want to. So why do I have men writing all these paragraphs? Tell me to resume the game or whatever that Stuff is. Mm. It's okay for a woman to change her mind. To let me agree to marry some broad or to go on a date with her, and I'm like, yeah, no. You see so many people like, why did you set her up to think you would do this? You wasted her time. This poor innocent person got ruined, got her time ruined by this guy who can't make up his mind. Told you, when you're a man, you don't get the sympathy party. You don't get all the attempts at giving you a you know what's a good way of saying it, a cop out, I should say, where people are like actively trying to explain away why you did something or say that it makes sense for you to do this because of what happened to you in the past. Like I'll always remember um, the guy that was in the one server, and he was like, if a woman gets molested, she should be forced to have the baby because um, the what do you call it? The kid might turn out good or great. Or and I was like, that is so stupid and disgusting. And the response to this by another person said, "Oh, well, I understand why he feels that way. If you if you know about someone's reasoning for something or their past, it can help you to understand their belief system." Like, dude, I don't care about understanding his belief system. It's a really nasty, stupid perspective, and I couldn't care less what his circumstances were. If I think something's gross, why do I need to hear about the person that espouses a tragic backstory? That's why I started saying that joke because, like, online, people really sit here and they try to get you to care about all this crap that has nothing to do with anything. She can't make a commitment because her dad used to hit her. But yeah, it's that one broad. I'm really sorry. I don't trust online chicks anymore. Very, very apologetic. I really don't know what other reaction they expect me to have. Like if you keep getting the same result over and over from these people, even the ones that claim that they're so interested in you and they want to become friends and they want to get to know you. I mean, what do you expect? And sometimes we've talked about this before. A lot of times when it ends, it's not even you and that person getting into an argument. There was a broad I used to talk to. Um, I don't want to say every day, but like every week, just like 5, 6 years ago. And the whole reason that ended, that like decent dialogue, right, was because she wouldn't log into her Skype account anymore. So that's the reason that concluded. Just her being lazy. Especially when it comes to a chick, you need to automatically care about a random chick you don't know. Well, you saw what happened with the dingbat with the baby and what was it, Triple L, where it's like, oh yeah, I've never met this woman before. I don't. I've you've had years and years of experience with this person, but I am going to be extremely sympathetic toward this individual who ruined her own life by popping out a kid she knew she couldn't afford. So, I'll go and make up all this other fan fiction crap. Oh, she has a tragic past of trauma in her background. I tell you that's all you need to know about how screwed over men are. Like when you see a broad who will blame you for not being able to afford thousands of dollars to go to school that nobody your age would even have anyway unless they're rich. Sit here and like justify a broad getting knocked up while she knew she couldn't have the kid before she even took the pregnancy test. That's all you need to know about how like screwed up. Like you'll get more blame for not being able to finish school, not because you flunked or didn't do your work because you couldn't afford it, than a broad who has a kid that she knows she can't afford with a guy who cannot help her support it. Who's even with like she has no commitment with. That's not her husband. Like whatever. I'm so tired of this woman stuff, man. Everybody always has an excuse for the stuff they do. Yes, I can relate. It's been that way with Me Too, with some chicks I used to keep in contact with on Skype and other sites. Right. And usually, and this happened on Reddit too, they just abruptly stop responding. And that's why it always pisses me off when you have these computer clowns who are like, well, you got rejected 90 plus. Like, no, a lot of times they just stop saying anything. They stop logging in. They stop responding. What the hell else are you supposed to do? But see, that goes back to my thing of the external factors that people don't like to admit about this woman crap. Because it's always designed around taking the man, making it all his fault so you can, symbolically nail him on a cross. Um, so to acknowledge the fact that there are things out of his control, like, other men being into the same woman, the woman, just abruptly not responding anymore. Those are things that are counterintuitive to their narrative. So they have to, pretend that those don't factor in. Because I swear to you, I did not have 90 plus chicks all say, oh, I'm not interested. No, a lot of them just don't respond anymore. Or they hide the fact they have a boyfriend. It's not this like simple thing of just you go up to somebody and they say, the next day they're not interested. It's other stuff as well that they don't factor in because they're too lazy. Because they want to peddle their narrative. They don't want to think too hard. They hate external factors. They hate the idea that there are these things out of a man's control that he is not responsible for. Like if you have a woman who says that she doesn't want to date a man that lives in another state and then she happens to live in a different state, how is that your fault? Chicks are extremely picky. Like that's why I said it's always so funny when you have these like websites that are talking about men that want high maintenance women. I'm like, dude, no, I don't even know any men that say I won't date this woman if she doesn't have makeup or she doesn't own this. Like it's such a joke. That's all from chicks. Like it's really comedic how we talk about how because of in large part because of men's collective desperation, they'll put up with a lot of dumb stuff from chicks. And like, it's not hard to see why. I mean, if you have men that are donating the broads, on Twitch or these other websites, you really think that if they meet some woman in real life, they'll sit there and analyze her and go, well, I don't like this one part of you or these two parts. No, they put up with everything just for the slightest bit of attention from a female, which is really sad, by the way. Like I said, man, I'll never be desperate enough to be into certain stuff. Like I don't think overweight chicks are attractive. And also, I would never date them in part because you have people who talk like try to talk trash, but you need to go to just. So I feel like if it's so bad that I don't do this ridiculous amount of exercise, then it should also be bad when chicks don't even do any of that either. So we'll hold you to the same standard. Yeah, I'm not interested. Just really sad that woman stuff has screwed people the way it has. Oh, it looks like James went away. He went. He said he made his little cameo and then he dipped. I told you I'm so sick of this woman stuff. It's just so weird. Still here, just don't what to say. What I really meant to say. Well, you don't have to if you don't want to. I'm just, if people don't leave a comment for like 30 minutes. Like, what happened to them? Did he go back to sleep? Did he get in too deep? No, it's just it's really sad that they act this way. And I swear, the only reason I didn't do a video on the one that was talking about the way the man looked in the picture is because I don't know what to call that video. Like, I guess I could call it "Woman Attacks Man's Looks," even though that's supposed to be a bad thing. It's really insane and could be very draining too. But the thing is, Megumi, these aren't even chicks. I always just say I'm down for anything, right? So as far as like, well, I would not approach or ask out chicks anymore. If one of them shows interest, and I find attractive, I'm open to it, whatever. Like, you don't even attempt anything romantic with these with them, and they still act like weird. I've never seen someone agree to have calls where all they do is sit there and play a stupid game. Well, I told you about the one chick from last year that was like, "Oh yeah, you can message me any day you want." And then after 2 or 3, I think it was like a month or 2 months, she just randomly stops answering for a week and then comes up with like three different reasons for why she didn't answer, then tells me that I can only message her once a week because she needs space. And I'm like, "Oh, you're the one that said I could message you whenever I wanted, that it was okay." Two, you're saying you need space after you just got through not saying anything to me for a whole week and me not saying anything back in return. So I think that it wasn't her forgetting. I believe it was a test run, right? She wants to like test the waters of what it's like to just ignore a person for several days. And she expects me, because they don't see men as a companion or an equal, but as a slave, to put up with her new system of you can only say something to me once every 7 days. So after I read that trash, got rid of her. So yeah, I don't sit here and put up with ridiculous stuff from broad, especially ones a computer who you don't have to talk to if you don't want to, or optional. Oh yeah, it's a lot of time wasted. But again, it's like, what was the point of that? What is the purpose of speaking to someone for weeks or months just to randomly, abruptly do some weird new rule change, and then like, I don't get it. It just seems weird to me. But that's why I said I probably would be better off if I just unfriended all of these chicks and just, didn't even bother speaking to any of them ever again, unless it's like a project or some other kind of like work related thing. Because I don't see what good comes out of talking to any of them at this point. Like, they do is just like, if you speak to them long enough, like let's say a month or a couple of weeks or something, this like weird erotic subtext, right? Um, and it just seems so pointless to me. I'm just getting tired of every single broad thinking you're interested in them. Like, damn, the ego of these people is insane. Like, yeah, I get that you go in real life and you have 900 guys saying how pretty you are, but the fact that I don't, and most of what I ask is limited to "How are you?" or "Are you all right?" Should be pretty telling. I'll never, I probably will never ask on another chick ever again. After that fiasco in May of last year with that broad that asked me out and then nothing came out, I just don't take them seriously anymore. That's what you should do. Forget about it. Yeah, I hear that that is one of the most bizarre cases about this. I'm kidding. We can go through all of last year and year before that. I didn't ask out a single one because I just see it as a waste of time. What is the point of doing something that's going to net the same result? Chicks are so different from each other that every time you ask one of them out, they say no or they're not interested. They only like you as a friend, but they're totally different from each other. Totally not all the same. Hey James, was it you or I think it was either you or somebody else that when I was talking about that weird Serena chick, she was like, I was like, I don't even believe that was a chick, and then they tried to say it was like, no, because more often than not, if someone comes on here and they're writing like whole paragraphs or weird stuff about the romance topic, it's usually another man, and we've had a man in the past who pretended to be a woman. So if you know if that was actually a chick, they can always do a video and prove me wrong. I know they're always afraid to go on camera and show their face. Well, it may be ideal to forget about it, but you need to keep in mind that is this is something has wanted to experience for a long time. Yeah. So you'll put up with a lot of stuff just to get what you want. Like if you want to date, you'll be surprised how many weeks or months you will spend talking to some broad or some series of broads, trying to hit the right notes, don't piss them off, ask them how they're doing, appear nice, just or some other pleasant thing. No good is coming out of it at all, and I'm not sure if that was me or someone else. I mean, yeah, but that's another part of what I was talking about when I said romantic relationships are overhyped. There's a lot of bad things that come out of those too. Between divorces and the woman getting half your stuff or having a kid that you can't afford with someone who's not even committed to you enough to marry you. Just there's a lot of bad stuff that happens too with romances, like actual romances. So I just don't see this getting any better. I just see the same thing happening over and over. And then in the cases where it doesn't, like if I always said that, people never understand what something is like until they experience it. So in a hypothetical where let's say I was more famous and I have chicks showing interest, I'm gonna think they're all gold diggers. And there's no reason not to believe that because when they as a collective had their chance to get with yours truly and declined over and over, you know, and then only after you do something of great noteworthiness do they show interest. I think it's very obvious what they are. Give me a G, give me an O, give me an L, give me a D, give me an I, give me a two G's, give me an E, give me a R. What's that spell? Gold digger. Oh, and the videos you should make, whatever you want to make. Forget about everyone asking for a specific video they want made. We not only did that because people will say they want something done, then you don't actually see any comments from them. They'll just be sitting there like wanting to rip your hair out. You're like, why? What do these people want? You cannot win. It's hard to see that among the many playful accusations you direct toward me. Well, you spoke to me for 2 months, and you must like those playful accusations. If they're not going to comment, that's why I don't say nothing. I tell you, this website is like a literal like hamster wheel, just running in the same line, trying to get 10 views or 20 or 30, and then they had this one broad who dropped at the end of last year, like New Year's Eve, a 2.5 hour video. And in the comment section, it's about her stalking another woman. In the comment section, she's like, if you're wondering why I didn't address this person or what Butt Muncher 75 said in the video with 45 views, then I don't care. I was imagining there's like this 45 view video with all this like hard hitting evidence on. She's like, oh, it's not big enough to warrant my interest. I'm also imagine that's someone's actual username, but Muncher 75. 2.5 hour video. And then there's a part of the video where she doesn't even talk. She's like showing different videos of these guys reacting to this woman doing a review in a bathtub. And I was just sitting there like, this is a clip show because she's showing all these other videos from back then when they were talking about it. You know, the clip show isn't like in a show or where they run out of budget, so they have to make an episode where they're like, "Remember when this happened?" They play clips from other episodes. That's what that video was, a clip show. I'll make a video later. It's gonna be 20 minutes, and I'm just gonna be sitting on my couch, like, remember that one time I did that stream, and then you get like a little blurry thing, and it like cuts back to that. I think that'd be a really funny video, like an actual YouTube clip show. Like we ran out of so much budget, we can't even just film a new video. But you know, because I just like talk about the news. We have to just sit there and like play clips of all this stuff. I'm forgetting what show it was, but there's some TV show where it's supposed to be a clip show, but then it's all new stuff. Like they did this really cool inversion of it. I'm forgetting what show that was though. I remember that Legend of Korra had a clip show, and the reason is because they either had to fire a bunch of people or just like get cut down of content on one episode. That's the only clip show I accept because that meant some people got to keep their jobs longer. That's really screwed up. You can either make one more episode of your show or fire a bunch of people. You can either make an episode where you don't really have that much new animation or you fire all these people. That's really disgusting. Nickelodeon is so weird. It's also kind of crazy to think about how The Last Airbender was such a ratings giant for Nickelodeon that they renewed it for more episodes after it ended, which is how we got stuck with Korra in the first place. And then they renewed that for like 3 more seasons when we only had one season. Then the ratings just kept going down until they just, all right, let's pull this off TV. To this day, that is the only season of a TV. That's the only show I've ever seen where there's like a whole season that just premieres on the internet. I thought that was hilarious. It was like, oh, how the mighty have fallen. James, why didn't you address what Buncher 75 said in their video about you with 45 views? He really exposed you and gave all this hard hitting evidence. His video is underrated, but it's unabated and it's destroying of you. I'm just really like, and I guess what always kills me is they act like you control how many views you have. Like if I do a video where I, research, gather all these screenshots, I can't help it if only 40 people watch it. Jesus Christ. Like when did views translate to quality? I know this one guy who did a video that people said was horrible. It got 2,000 views. Does that automatically mean it's good now? And the dislikes were astronomical. Like the video was clearly underwater. By underwater, I mean it was upside down with like way more dislikes than likes. What's the other that one song Friday? The one that everybody hates? Like, yeah, that video has over 1 million views and it still is considered bad. And then there was the trailer for the 2016 Ghostbusters movie that had a whole bunch of downvotes on it. Like I said, it's weird. It's really bizarre that people act like views translate to quality. Because there's plenty of stuff on here, a lot of views that people hate. Yeah, that one. That video had like a record-shattering number of dislikes, and it's got a lot of views on it, right? So it's funny to have this woman like make fun of someone for having 45 views, but then there's many videos that I've watched that are high quality would get 20 to 600 views. Yeah, like views do not translate to quality. I saw one guy, he made a really nice character analysis video of this character in this horror movie. And it's like, it's got clips, he's got a script, he's talking all this background stuff, audio quality's good, video quality's good, but it still doesn't even have 200 views because he doesn't control how many views he gets. No, that song was despised. I remember when that got posted first. When that first got posted, rather, I was in like eighth grade. Hey James, did you see the video I put up yesterday about the guy that after he quit his job or got fired, they paid him in 90,000 pennies and they threw them all in his in front of his house. And on his check, they wrote it, the manager or whoever's in charge wrote a curse word. And then he gonna write on he writes some cryptic crap on the website talking about maybe he was lazy, maybe he was whacking off in people's cars. Me and my brother was over here. Like he's with me when I'm recording, but he doesn't say anything. He's on the side, and it was like I told him it sounds like something out of a cartoon. You don't like this employee anymore, so on their way out, you pay them in 91,000 pennies, and you throw them all around in front of that person's house. And then on the website, after people are like, "What is wrong with you?" You're like, maybe this guy that I did this to was lazy. Maybe he was whacking off in people's cars. I swear that sounds like something out of like every week there's like one news story that sounds like something out of a cartoon. Like when the congresswoman remember when AOC went to Florida and they were talking about her boyfriend's pale male feet. And I'm like, what the hell? Like how we like not even, we're not even gonna just talk about people being homosexual. But like what who's weird enough to sit there and get like a picture of this man's feet, be like, let me analyze them to talk about in my news article. What's wrong? And then you had the one clown that was like, I wouldn't date you. So like, then don't say it. Then just whatever. There's I swear a lot of these people involved with this stuff are insane. That's why it's really funny when people act like just because someone owns a business or they have a job, they're normal. Not at all. I wish somebody would have gotten a picture of that. You sit here and you get fired from somewhere, and the manager in your last check from that job, they throw 91,000 pennies in front of your house with a curse word on the check, and they write cryptic crap about you on the website. Maybe he was lazy. Maybe he was pleasuring himself in people's vehicles. That needs to be. That sounds like something that'd be an episode of South Park. Every week there's one news story that's just bizarre. Like it's not even scary. It's just it's just really goofy. Like it's not a cartoon. You remember that there was what video was it? Oh, most people who raided the Capitol We're business owners, so yeah. Whoever said people who own business are normal is lying. Yeah, I'm only saying that because you have people who, here we go with our lack of empathy toward men who try to say, well, maybe you didn't have a job because you did this or you did that. It's like, okay, but then you look at the weird stuff these other people do and they're still employed. So what's your point? No, I'm just really tired of piss square. I think what I might do is message both of them today and just be like, hey, how you doing? Are you all right? You know, and that'll be the extent of it. Because the issue here is that when the one that does the calls and like doesn't say anything is not in a call with me just typing stuff, she's very pleasant, very nice to speak to. With the other one, when she's not like weirdly lashing out, I think it's like every other week, you know. Again, nice to speak to. So it always, I don't know, it's like with chicks, it really is like, because I swear I don't go out of my way to talk to insane people. It's like every other week they have like these it's like they have a quota that they have to be dramatic or do something that upsets you every couple of days or something. You should delete Discord. It seems to be stressing you out. Well, yeah, but there are people I speak to and they're actually pleasant. So how am I supposed to talk to them if they're not if I'm not on that site? You know, I mean, I mentioned before that the year before last and a lot of last year as well, I wasn't in anybody's server other than my own. I was just like, you get some DMs for me and that's it. No, I'm not joining anybody's trash. I tried to have a server one time and I just said, no, I'm good. I got rid of it. So again, if I could delete the whole thing, I won't be able to speak to certain people. Some of my favorite characters. Dude, my favorite thing is when the one that was like saying you make playful accusations, whatever that trash was. She was like, "Oh, the reason I didn't respond to you is because the power's been out," and I'm just looking at because on Discord when you log in with your phone and you don't have like the setting to where you're invisible, you know that the person's online because they have the green phone next to their name. Like she's saying she's not like she was saying she wasn't online earlier, even though you saw her online earlier. Can't even get their own lie straight. No, with the other one, I was like, if I want to unfriend you, I would just do it. Like I don't make threats. I just do it. While it can be a huge pain and very stressful to deal with the majority of Discord, it can be pretty good when you have someone you can talk to and have a discussion with. Yeah, I've got one guy I've spoken to on there for 3 years and very seldom ever gotten any arguments with. So there are people on there who are not, insane. It's just that a lot of times when you try to talk to some of these chicks, and again, that's why I said it's like I'm not trying to sound sexist, but I don't remember like every time I think of a really crazy experience with somebody on the internet, it's that's not like a troll or just how to explain like a person that I speak to of my own accord. Other than the Discord snake, it's usually a chick. Like overwhelmingly, it's something bizarre that happens with them. Like I don't know any guys, for example, that when I get into a call with them, all they're doing is playing some game every single time. All they're doing is playing some game in every instance, and then will barely say anything to you. But then when you type them something, they write whole paragraphs. let's see, alone making calls and stuff, it isn't so bad. It's just most of the people on there that make it so stressful, especially on servers. Oh, servers are the worst. Horrible mods, um, some kind of Orwellian system. Like told you, I joined the server where every time you go into VC, because it's got 300,000 people in there. There are people who join just to say profanity or spam some noise in our ear or say a racial slur. There's a guy that put the N word on Google Speech and came in there and just kept spamming it. It's like, you know, um, and I guess what really pisses me off is I'll mention this to a lot of these different people, right? And I'll say, hey, can we have a private call because I don't really want to run the risk of having, because I just get sick of that, right? And this person's like, oh, well, I find it funny. It's like, I don't find getting called racial slurs amusing. I don't think it's funny when I'm trying to have a conversation with someone and I start hearing chirp, 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 because the idiot is playing the soundboard. Like, it's not, that's why I said that, like, a lot of these servers, I just get tired because a lot of people in there like that stupid stuff, and I'm not really enjoying that. I told you, man, you can't just have normal experiences online. Like, there's always something weird going on. You can't just talk to people, have a decent dialogue. Never. It's got to be some bizarre thing where they're cursing at each other, or calling you out of your name, or trying to pick a fight every time. But I was gonna admit that my own shortcoming is with a lot of the women stuff. You do put up with certain things that they do that you probably wouldn't put up with from a man. And I guess the ratio of me just like randomly unfriending men is so like, or I guess unfriending them is much smaller than the chicks. Um, but it's like I don't know men that do this kind of stuff. Like I mentioned the one chick that said be the bigger person or whatever, and was trying to say it's immature to do a video on someone when they piss you off. Even though, like I said, people make videos about each other all the time. And what I do, which is conceal the person's identity, is extremely more um, therapeutic than what a lot of these people do, where they actually try to expose a person on Discord, on YouTube. Whereas with me, it's just me venting about something that upset me. But the thing with her is a good example because that's a situation that has nothing to do with her. That was me attempting to, I guess, convey a way I was feeling to someone that wanted me to believe they liked me. And, ultimately, when she gets unfriended a couple of days or a month or week after that, it's because she was running her mouth about something that had nothing to do with her and trying to like get offended over stuff that she's not even involved with. And that's why I said I don't know any men that are like that. As far as like ones I speak to, like, yeah, there are creepy guys on the internet that get upset because a random man they've never met won't talk to random chicks they've never met. But actual men I speak to that are like, you shouldn't make a video on this person and you should be the bigger person. Like, no, they don't do that. They don't tell you to try to let people do whatever they want to you. And then they also should be able to control how you respond to them. Never. Only a weird chick wrote that. And that's why. And then she's so stupid that when I asked, do you like me after that, which is clearly platonic because she's talking all this trash about what I plan on doing. She's like, as friends, sure. Like, what, how, like, just in your brain, okay? Think of this. How demented do you have to be to believe that a man who you just spoke disparagingly of the things they plan on doing would truly believe that you are romantically interested in him right after you just got through insulting what his intentions were of doing this video? That's why I said a lot of these chicks are airheads. Like, what logical person would go, "Oh, this man thinks I like him after I just got through insulting him repeatedly for something he didn't even do yet?" So these broads, it's like it's just they don't even think. I don't know what's wrong with these other ones. They won't even respond anymore. Like and that's why I said that's the other thing that gets them in trouble because if I keep reaching out to someone and they just won't reply, I quit. I mean, it's stupid. Like, what's the point of having people on your list? Because I would say, sometimes people are busy, but if it's been 2, 3 weeks or a month, like, and I see you online, I'm gonna think it's BS that you can't reply. And I don't feel bad for doing that because if me unfriend them mattered so much, they would actually respond to me when they had the chance. I just think it's so dumb, man. People don't even talk to you and they're surprised that you get rid of them. I swear, people I don't know what they want. I agree. That is a good way of looking at it. Yeah, it's like they had their chance to talk to me, they chose not to. So when I decide to just, rip it up and cut it all off, they act surprised or they're, 'cause I'm not supposed to do that. Because remember we talked about how you're supposed to be the woman's slave, so you can't leave them alone or quit speaking to them or anything. You would prematurely cut off a woman that was interested in you. What is prematurely? A wah 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 wah. No no answer. That's code for they can only walk away from you. You can't walk away from them. Also, by the way, the reason that James won't write anything anymore, it's not because he doesn't know what to say. It's because he's too busy watching Christopher Reeve's Superman, that classic movie. I think it's really funny how like a lot of these series parallel each other, like the original Superman film series and the Burton film series have like a thing where like the first movie is this like genre defining landmark moment for superhero films, right? The second one is also held in generally high regard and sometimes considered better than the first one. And then the third one is definitely considered inferior to the first two. And then the fourth one is considered the worst movie ever made, one of the worst movies ever made. I thought it was funny, like how they really do parallel each other. Just like the Raimi trilogy and the Nolan trilogy. Like the first movie is this origin story that's well liked as far as like the film overall. The second one is held in very high regard, referring to Spider-Man 2 and Dark Knight as this like very impactful, you know, performances and all the rest of that. And the third one is more divisive, but it's not considered as good as the first two. So that's why James will write anything. He's too busy watching his hero, Christopher Reeve. I remember when he died, I was in like I think kindergarten, first grade. It was 2004, 2005. Because back then I'd never seen any of the anything he had been in. So I was really just like, who is this? I don't know. I can't help but feel really bad for Henry Cavill. Like you sign up to play Superman, you get one movie, then you get this weird team up movie, then you get this other team up movie, and they never. And at least with Affleck, he's like, I don't want to come back. With Cavill, he openly expresses interest in returning, and I just think it's so sad because to me he looks like the character. Good voice as well. It's just sad. I don't know. I always really like Superman, and it's unfortunate that we can't get a legitimate attempt at a film series since the 80s. I'm just glad I watched No Way Home for free finally due to how hot it was. I totally forgot about the Superman movie back in 2008. It wasn't 2008. It was 2006 or five. Superman Returns, directed by the same pedophile that did X Men. Let me see if I got that right. I'm gonna correct because I don't want to say something like that and then Um, yeah, it was 2006. I got to write the second. Yeah, the same the same Predator. Stupid Ryan Singer, creep of the decade. No, I'm just saying that with Cavill and the DCEU, I really think that if Man of Steel was just a standalone movie by itself, and they did a Man of Steel 2 with the ideas that they had of using Brainiac and Supergirl, that series could have gone on for 6 or 7 movies. Especially with all the like de-aging technology, that would have been so cool. Because like I said, we never get any of these like film series that go for more than like 2, 3 movies before they reboot. That's the only reason I'm really into extended universes because at least with those, they're not trying to start over every 2 or 3 movies. They actually let it go on. No, Superman 4 destroyed that series. That movie killed Superman 5, Superman Live, Superman Reborn. It blew up all of that. Same thing with just proved how forgettable that movie was. Well, if there's one thing Man of Steel is, it's definitely not forgettable. People are still talking about that. Remember, we need to keep the trilogies going. I'm so sick of three because it makes it very predictable, right? Like, okay, in the first one, this will, but I'm not opposed to trilogies in trilogies. So, for example, if you gave me 6 Raimi Spider-Man movies and there's like a 3 movie arc for a character like with Harry, I wouldn't have an issue with it. Just like I was saying that Flash and the Reverse Flash Professor Zoom, the yellow one, like the one with the inverted colors, could work really well for a trilogy where you like have him in the first movie as like this guy that's like a fan of Flash, and the second one he starts hating him as he gains the powers, and the third one he's trying to ruin his life. That would be really cool because we would be just as invested in this villain that we've built up for as many movies as the protagonist. So that would work really well in my view. Always trilogies, trilogy. Just so sick of those. Even though I'll admit the Reeve Superman movies would have been better off if it was a trilogy, because 4 is despised by the whole world. 4 is the anal fudge Sunday. I don't know. I'm really. I think there's a lot of potential in film series that go past 3. Like there's like an alternate universe we get like a Burton Batman 3 in like 95, 94, and then another one in like 97 or 98, then one in like the early 2000s. And then after that you reboot it. But if they did, I'd be a lot more okay with it because we got 6 movies with the same cast. So I guess what I'm saying is if it goes on longer, I'm more acceptable of starting over. Like with Affleck's Batman, I'm really pissed about not being able to get at least a solo movie with him. So the idea that we're having 3 different Batman, whatever, on the big screen in 10 years, like I get tired of it because it's just the same thing. Just start over. I'm dark and gritty. Just so that's just me getting sick of it. all these reboots. I feel so bad for Cavill. He is such a like good actor, and I feel like if DC wasn't so desperate to try and catch up with Marvel with the cinematic universe stuff, he could have had a whole series of like 5 or 6 movies, and it could have had all the different Superman villains. That would have been so cool. Because I'm still waiting for a movie with Brainiac. They've had 4 attempts to have him in a movie, and it never goes through. Just like with Riddler, where he was supposed to be the villain in the last Dark Knight film, and then he was supposed to be in Superman versus Batman, and he got cut from that too. It's just, but at least he's in forever, So it's not as bad. But with Brainiac, they've tried to stick him in the movie 4 times, and it never goes through. One of the best villains, in my opinion, from DC period, just can't get a break. So tired of trilogies. I don't know what this weird fetishization with the number 3 is. Like, I'm really sick of it. At least with Avengers, it's 4. With the 5th one, that'll eventually happen at some point. Just proved how forgettable that movie was. Yeah, I don't really ever see anybody, and maybe it's because I don't look it up, but like, I don't look up Man of Steel videos, and I still see people talking about that film, making reviews, and all the rest of this. So, same thing with Spider-Man 3. Like, that movie came out, what, 14 years ago. It still gets discussed. It gets discussed for being the first adaptation of Venom, um, for being, obviously the finale of the original trilogy, for being the unintentional finale as well, because they talk about, what would have happened if 4 got made. So it's really interesting how some of this stuff is so old, but it'll just keep getting discussed because it's anything but forgettable. Like Superman 4 and Batman and Robin killed the Superman and Batman movie series. And Batman and Robin was eventually able to kind of get out of people's minds, 10 plus years later when they did not even 10, was that 8 years later when they did Batman Begins. But you can argue that after Superman 4, it never recovered. Well, Megumi, I'm not saying anything negative about Spider-Man 3. I'm just saying it's not forgettable that people still make videos about it and memes and all the rest of this stuff. And like I said, that movie was one of Sony's most successful ever, and was the most successful financially of the entire trilogy with almost $900 million. So I tell you, the only reason we didn't get a fourth one was because Raimi didn't like the scripts that were being written and didn't think he could get out a finished product by the May 2011 release date. That's totally different from this stuff with these other two. Because with those other two, it's like box office bomb and disliked by critics too. Oh God. And people online are saying, make TASM 3, make TASM 3, make TASM 3. I hope if they do make it, it's not that script that I heard about a couple of years ago from Dennis Leary, because if it is, I want to vomit. Let's have our protagonist resurrect people and bring them back from being deceased. No, I'm just saying trilogies are very played out because it's the same thing over and over. Of like, you do 3 and then that's it. Pixar has a big problem with trilogies. I have a big problem with them too. We're gonna agree on that. Yeah, it's really sad that these series are so lazy, where they just do the same thing over and over. And I guess maybe that's because when you're adapting comics and there's like an infinite number of stories, right, for you to use, it always just seems so weird to me to only do 3 films, especially if you're going to keep using the same character with a new actor and different people and start the whole thing all up again. Um, like for example, if you're doing Green Lantern, and I always talk about how like I really like the mythos of Green Lantern, and they got screwed over by that stupid, horrible abomination movie that came out 10 years ago. Like one of the things that movie did right was it wanted to have Sinestro be the overarching villain. Like in the first one, he's like nominally on Hal's side, and the second one, he's tampering with the yellow rings, and the third one is him as the main antagonist. Um, and then if you do a fourth one, you can bring in Guy Gardner, you can bring in John Stewart. I mean, James, they've always had the same two problems: trilogies, one movie villains. Um, stuff like that. Or oh, you know what? I got 3 things. The problem with superhero movies: trilogies, one movie villains, and only existing to set up other crap. Like TASM 2 literally only exists to set up a TASM 3, a TASM 4, Black Cat, Sinister Six. It's a commercial for other films. That's why you have all these other villains, like their gear is in the movie, but they're not in it themselves. Um, Same thing with, and I think Iron Man 2 is much better, but a lot of the stuff with, Fury and Widow and all the rest of that is there for, just to set up Avengers. That's one of the biggest issues with like especially in these shared universes. That's one of the reasons why I'm not. I'll go on a limb. A lot of the DC solo movies I kind of prefer to the Marvel stuff. Like you can watch Aquaman by itself. There's like a little mention of Justice League at the start, and that's pretty much it. Same thing with Wonder Woman. Like both of those, I know people hate the second one, but both of those operate by themselves. Like you can just watch them independent of other stuff. And if the second one sets up anything, it's a third one. Um, but yeah, that's the biggest issue with them outside of like just from a narrative standpoint that's setting up other stuff thing. Like no one tries to tell a complete story anymore. I'll tell you one of the reasons I really like the original Spider-Man trilogy is because each movie is its own full, complete story. You can watch the first film and you could act like the other two don't even exist because there's no lingering plot threads. It's just a full story of boy becomes man slash superhero saves the city from crazed scientist who happens to be the dad of his best friend. No, not in every Marvel movie. Those that original Spider-Man trilogy does not have that. They don't have a post-credit scene. They don't have other stuff that's just there to set up something else. Not at all. That's a formula. Hell, that's one of the reasons why the first Iron Man is my favorite MCU movie because it's a full story. The little stuff with Shield is part of the plot where they're like, "Oh, we're gonna help you make a secret identity," and then he like blows his cover at the end of it, and then Fury only shows up in the post credit scene, so you can watch the whole movie without any of the stuff there. Right, but I'm saying that that's one of the reasons why the first Iron Man works very well because it's its own full story. It doesn't have a million things that set up sequels and other movies. Oh, but don't even get me started on that one movie villain thing. That's something else that DC is doing better than Marvel. They are trying to use villains for like more than one movie. Like they're bringing back the villains from Man of Steel for Flash. I told you I'm never gonna get over not getting my Thanos prequel. Like that's the main villain of the whole cinematic universe, right? The overarching main antagonist, and he's only pretty much in one movie, outside of some cameos and other ones. And I had one person on my stream who was like, "Oh, I don't think it would sell." It's like, dude, if they can make stuff that nobody cared about before it had a movie like Eternals and Shang-Chi sell, don't even try to convince me that a character who's considered one of the best movie villains of the 21st century couldn't sell if they did a prequel on him. But there's plenty of stuff for them to use. Like he's 1,000 years old by the time Infinity War happens. We don't know what his relationship with his dad was like. His brother that's in Eternals, by the way, what their dynamic was. We don't know when he met his children, you know, and I guess it's so frustrating that there's this character with all this potential and they just do nothing with it. And you had this one clown on Twitter, sometimes less is more. I'm like, dude, if they did the first Avengers without like any of the movies before that, people would have an issue with it because they're expected to care about characters that they don't know. So, just clown stuff, man. People are that's why I said they're just anti everything. It just really sucks because when you're talking about a character that's that old in a universe where like other people that appear in his thing can show up later on. You don't know who he encountered. They could have Nova show up. They could have any other cosmic being, that lives for centuries. I mean, Pixar has a tendency to stretch out movies that could have ended after the second or third movie. Oh, which Toy Story is it that people say is not good? Like, there's one of them that's not as liked as the other ones. I only saw the first two, so whichever one that was, let me know. Oh, okay, that one. I know it's either the third or the fourth one because I remember the first two are pretty well liked. Yeah, Megumi, the first Iron Man is amazing. Like if you remember the fact that or are aware of the fact that they had to a lot of the dialogue is ad libbed, and this is before they had Disney backing them, so Marvel actually wasn't in some like extremely safe position from then on. It's extremely amazing that that thing turned out the way it was. I mean, hey, I probably would still be okay with four because at least it broke the trilogy thing. You don't know how tired I am of that. But what did I say? I said it was one movie villains, it was trilogies, and like stuff that sets up other stuff. Okay, those three together. But with the one movie villain thing, I'm just annoyed because a lot of the villains that people are aware of, it's because they appear over and over again. So it really sucks when they do a superhero movie or a superhero movie series, right? A whole series, and they only use the villain one time and then that's it. So that's just another issue I had with that stuff. And with trilogies, it's just me being annoyed because I'm just tired of everything ending at three. Because I think that a lot of the what's the way of saying it? A lot of the numbers, like a lot of characters have a lot of stories. So to just when you always set something at being three, it limits itself. There's like a lot of superhero cartoons that get canceled after like one, two, three, four, 5 seasons. I get annoyed by that because you have hundreds and hundreds of issues of the comics that you can pull from. Like if they wanted to, they could make an X-Men cartoon that has 200 episodes, and they'd still have stuff they could pull from after that. Don't even get me started on Batman. If you do a show about just the mythos of that character, like by itself, with no Justice League, nothing like that. Just that character by himself, that could be a whole 10 season show. And by 10 seasons, I'm talking like 20 something episodes. But yeah, they just repeat a lot of stuff I don't like. Like I wasn't the biggest fan of Black Panther, right? For example. Um, but I was still really disappointed they're not bringing back Killmonger for the second one because for a villain who got as much acclaim as he did, you would think the director would capitalize on that and actually like give him an arc. And also, I'm just really sick of the MCU when it comes to villains because it's very formulaic where a villain shows up one time, they're defeated, and then they die or they're thrown away and never used again. To where out of the 20 something villains, main villains, right? There's only been like six that have shown up more than once, where it's Red Skull, um, that Pierce guy from the second Captain America, Loki, obviously, Thanos, Red. Who's the other one? The guy from Guardians of the Galaxy, and somebody else that have like shown up more than once. Yes, 6 out of 20 something, and it sucks because a lot of the one movie villains I really like. So that it disappoints me that we get to see them more than once. I guess that's just the biggest issue I have with with this stuff. Besides, the other two. Mm. Telemarketer. Yeah, it's just sad that they don't do anything different. Like people trash the Thor movies, but that's the only Marvel film series other than X Men, and if you want to count the Spider-Man trilogy, that has a villain or like a, I guess, villainous leaning character that has like a multiple movie arc. So that's always something I give that particular series credit for. Even when they changed directors, they didn't change Loki. They kept bringing him back until Infinity War. I definitely didn't like it. I didn't even see that until right now when you said that, when you wrote that rather. Again, I haven't seen it, so that's why I was asking. I just know that there's a common tendency for in a film series the third or fourth movie to not be considered good or to be bad or whatever. Because you look at that with Matrix right now. There are people that love. I mean, like pretty much everybody likes the first one, and the second and third one are like more divisive, but are still well liked enough. Um, but there are people who like really like the first three and are saying the fourth one sucks. So kind of reminds me of a certain other series we mentioned with Superman 4. Told you with that series, it's the same thing. People like the first one, love the second one. Third one is a mixed bag, and the fourth one is despised by everybody. I still don't know why they made a fourth one because it made money. It was popular. Should have left it alone. You know, um, okay, well, I'll just say I don't think the act of making a sequel to something is by itself bad. Um, but if you can't come up with a story that you find to be as compelling or as good as what came before it, don't bother with it. So just, oh, we're doing a Toy Story 4 or 5. You know, that by itself should not be something that is frowned upon, unless there's like some ending where there's like no way of coming back from it. Because that was the thing with Dark Knight Rises, where the ending is set up in such a way that you can't even tell any more stories with that character. Should have left it alone. Now, when money gets involved, you'll be surprised how many series get resurrected. I mean, look at Friday the 13th. The first one was supposed to be the only one. Then they made a whole bunch of money. Then they made a second one. They're like, okay, it's the last one. Then the third one's supposed to be the last one. Then the fourth one was supposed to be the last one, to where they even put the final chapter as the title. Then the sixth one was supposed to be the last one. So it just kept. Then the ninth one was supposed to be the last one. If it makes enough money, they will keep it going. It'll be like a never-ending cycle of continuous attempts at I don't know, keeping it going. But yeah, there are a lot of film series where if it makes enough money, they will just keep it going. They don't even care what the story is, like whatever. Give me him, yeah. I still like can't believe we actually got Incredibles 2. I remember when I was a kid, like all the hype for that first one, but just the idea that it's like a release, what, 13, 14 years after the first one. If only they could have left Star Wars alone. Well, George Lucas did. He said Revenge of the Sith was the last one, and then for 7 years, we all thought the only new stuff we get is, Clone Wars or some comics, and then Disney bought it and decided to keep it going. So, that I don't blame him at all for selling it. When you make something and then people talk trash about you after it to such an extent that they accuse you of raping their childhood, I don't really blame him for wanting to distance himself from that. But yeah, anytime there's something popular, it's gonna go on forever. And like the new way that stuff is, you're gonna see continuations in some form or another. Um, like you're never gonna just if something does really well, you're not gonna see it end. Or if it does, it's gonna have like how to explain it, like a temporary ending. Like the end of Dragon Ball Z is like the temporary ending, and then you can either watch GT or Super or read the manga for Super. It always goes on. Same thing with the Last Airbender. It's like not even 2 or 3 years later after that show ended, we got what the Legend of Korra, and then not even 3 years after that show ended, we started getting sequel comics. So nothing is over anymore. Do you like Madagascar? I think I recall it being around 4 movies. Um, I don't. Yeah, I saw the first when I was a kid. I liked it. I don't know if I remember the other ones. Let's see. Of course, I type in Madagascar on WikiPiss. They give me a link to the actual island country. So I gotta go look up the movie. No, there's only three, and then there's a spin-off, Penguins of Madagascar, and the fourth one was initially planned to be released in 2018, but was removed from the release schedule. So there's only three of those. I only like the first one. The rest are garbage. Yeah, the fandom was very toxic at the time. I don't blame George either. Now they all wish that they had been grateful for the prequel trilogy. It's weird too because like I look at a lot of these other I guess IPs, and when the creator comes back, there's usually not the same level of scorn. Like There are people who don't like Super, for example, but they don't say because the notes are the way it works apparently is that Toriyama writes stuff on pieces of paper and then Toyotaro has to figure out how to make it all flow together. You don't see anybody saying Toriyama ruined my childhood because he made suggestions for what should be in Super, you know? So out of all the creators of something that's been influential that I've ever seen, the one who indisputably got the most hate was Lucas. Like, you look at J.K. Rowling, she's not getting hate because some of the Harry Potter books aren't good. She's getting hate 'cause she's saying all kind of weird stuff on Twitter, running her mouth. So I always felt bad for him. Yeah, Megumi, three movies. I like how with all these different series, there's always chatter of a fourth one, but it never comes. Like there was chatter of an Iron Man 4, we never got it. There was chatter of I mean, we already talked about Spider-Man 4 before, but you get the idea. There's always like some if there's a fourth installment that was thought of, it was just thought of. It just gets discussed. Three movies, that's the limit. This is the trilogy era. Everything has to be three. Imagine if we got the Thrawn trilogy as an actual movie trilogy. Well, I've been said they should have like actual representation of a lot of the expanded universe stuff, like in movies or TV shows. Like I would love a Darth Revan movie or Darth Nihilus because that was my favorite one of the Sith Lords that wasn't in a movie. The Planet Eater. Just like one of my favorite books in that whole I think I might like that book more than probably anything that's not the movies or Clone Wars was the Darth Plagueis novel that came out in 2012 because it gave all this backstory for Palpatine and it showed his master and his master's master and it was so thorough, right? And that like this what I thought was an interesting story of how Plagueis was still alive during Phantom Menace and like was trying to see Anakin and he met Qui Gon at one point in his alter ego as a normal person, and it was like again, it's just very expansive, character-driven story that's like really well thought out. And stupid Disney said the book wasn't canon not even 2 years later, and they've never done anything to show us what happened in their new canon in terms of what like Palpatine's backstory. Like it just drove me nuts. I was like, you have this great novel and you just ball it up and throw it in the trash. So I always hate them for that. Like I despise that they made a lot of the legend stuff non-canon, right? Um, but that was one like that particular thing really pissed me off because they could have just used that. I mean, you can pretty much say that about any character that doesn't speak. Force of death and destruction. Hell, that's what they say about Boo in the Boo saga, Kid Boo. Look, I found him interesting. If you didn't, that's that. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you about a series that has a lot more important things to do than worry about whether I like a certain character or not. Hey, what did we say on the last stream, James? That people are anti everything. You want a Thanos prequel? That wouldn't work. You want a Darth Nihilus movie? That wouldn't work. It's just no matter what you want, somebody always has a problem with it. You don't even pitch like any kind of actual story to them, just the idea. They're like, that wouldn't work every time. What are some other examples of that same philosophy? Just I'm trying to think of like there's been other times where we suggest something, and a person they don't you don't again you don't actually pitch a story. You just say I would like to see this type of thing where this character is the lead or whatever. So they know nothing of the story other than they want this one character in like a lead role. That wouldn't work. This couldn't function. Jesus Christ. People are just opposed to everything. Like no matter what it is. We should make like a little list of like all the different ideas, and just the second somebody hears it, they're against it. That make a good title for a video. Why are people so anti everything? Like I was watching a stream. What was that, a week ago, where they were talking trash about doing a fourth Raimi film, and they were like, "This one actor who played a minor character is deceased, and what would it be about?" It's like, okay, if they actually hired writers, they can decide that after the fact. But you're dismissing something without even knowing what it'll be about. Jesus Christ. I'm to use your logic against you. Let me paraphrase. Darth Revan wouldn't have made for a good protagonist or antagonist because in the end, he's not a character. He's a force of death and destruction. Hell, they probably would just say, "Oh, you already saw his story in the games. Go play those." I tell you, it's the same thing with like every fandom. If they want something, you're supposed to like acquiesce to it. But then if you want something, they just throw their arms up and go, "Oh, I don't think this can work," or "This is not good," or whatever. Because Star Wars fans aren't the only ones that do this. I remember I was on the what's that, Kensenshu, and we were talking about like if they wanted this character to do something, they could do this, that, the other. Or if you just say I'd like them to use the other characters more. This could not work because they're too far behind in power level. It's like, dude, what a joke. Every time, always opposition. I really hope they don't make a Lethal Weapon 5. Why? Is it going to undo the ending of the fourth one and mess up the myth? No, I'm opposed because I'm opposed. It just wouldn't work. I've briefly glimpsed into the future. I really hope they don't do a Madagascar 4. Why? Is it because it might ruin the ending of the third one? It might conflict with what's been. No, I'm opposed to it because I don't want another one. Yeah, you'll always find someone on here that has a problem with something. Yeah, but it's like they have problems with stuff that doesn't even exist. Like, imagine if before Clone Wars came out, right? You have George Lucas and he says, I want to make a show set in the prequel trilogy era between 2 and 3 that further develops several characters that weren't that big a focus in the films. And we're going to have this groundbreaking CGI. We're going to have like all this lore building and whatnot. And then I go, oh, no, that would never work. You don't even know what, you haven't seen any of the scripts, nothing. And you're just opposed to it just from the idea alone. Yep, all the time, and sometimes don't even give a reason to why they dislike it. Well, I mean, his reason you could say for a lot of antagonists, like I would argue the only form of Boo that actually is a character is the original one, the Fat Boo. Like Kid Boo is just a destructive, evil kid, that goes around screaming and stuff. But if you do a story where he's the antagonist, I mean, they did that during the Boo saga. I don't see why they couldn't do it again. Like a lot of times your villain doesn't even have to be a character. They can just be an opposition force that the protagonist has to overcome. Like look no further than The Last Airbender. Ozai as a character matters so little that we don't even see his face until the third season. Most time we hear about him, it's from someone else secondhand or discussing him or whatever. So people just they're always opposed to something every time. At least when they do those like studio head stuff, they'll let them write a script, and if they don't like it, they read through it and then they say they don't like it. But we're just like spitting out ideas or like a very basic overview of something, and they're like, no, this could not work. Okay, well, I have watched Dragon Ball, and I know who Boo is, and Boo is actually several characters, but Kid Boo is described as being a force of nature and destructive, just in the same way you would describe Darth Nihilus, Planet Burster, all the rest of that. Which is why I gave the example that if a character like that, who is very devoid of personality, can still be an effective antagonist for an arc, I don't believe that if you made a character like that, referring to Nihilus, the main character or the antagonist of a movie, it couldn't work. Especially if I've never seen anyone attempt to do that via not having read any scripts about this idea. Which is why I said people are just anti everything. If they don't even read or know what someone's ideas are, other than, oh, I want to use this character. It's like, what's the point? No, they don't give any reason. I agree, Megumi. They give no reason. They just remember that's why we said just anti everything. Just like when you had the stuff on Twitter, make TASM 3, and they were like, oh, there should not be a TASM 3. I'm like, why? Would the story be automatically be bad? Is it impossible to tell a good story with that iteration of that character? Oh no, I'm just opposed to it. So people just they have an issue with everything. I mean, hell, they're anti everything because why do people have to be like that? Well, it's mainly about this idea that they don't like the fact that someone else gets what they want when they don't. So if you want more of something, or just additional content, whatever, they'll be opposed to it just because they want to have something to be a contrarian about. That's why when the guy was talking about how for Kakarot, right, he wanted to have a RPG game where you can play as other characters besides Goku and Piccolo and like all the Saiyans. This person's like, Goku's the main character, and it's like, okay, but that does not prevent the developers of this game from allowing you to play as other characters if they so wished or so chose. So it's the same thing of just like this one idea, not even something that actually is going to be in the game, just this idea that this one guy has online. This would not work. I mean, you could make Nihilus the antagonist of a single movie or even an arc within a movie, but I don't see how he would make for an overarching villain. But nobody said anything about an overarching villain. I said a movie, and then you said that it wouldn't work. You didn't read a script. I didn't get to give any ideas for how this could happen. I mean, hell, how did he work in the game that he's in? How does he work in KOTOR 2? That's the worst part about the opposition. Like you're opposed to something that we know works because it worked for that game. Dude, this is just like when we had the term of the power discussion and how people were saying, oh, they had to write out Boo because he was too powerful. It's like if you're a good writer, you make a character or a set of characters who can fight this character despite their powers. Like the writers at DC, well, they are now, but they weren't always trash. So when they want to make Superman villains, they either have him use kryptonite, his weakness, or they give them some other way to counter his powers. So you can actually have a compelling battle, and be a challenge. So, man, people have no imagination. They're just always opposed to something. That really should be like a group. Dude, you knew I was talking about Trilogy because I said I wanted the Nihilist movie, and then you said you didn't think that could work. And then after that, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I'm gonna go on here and read. Uh, you said a Darth Revan movie, so you knew I was talking about one movie. You got that revisionist history for something we just read like 10 minutes ago. Anyways, guys, I've been on here too long. I'm not about to sit here and argue with people over stuff that really is not that important. So thanks, Megumi. Thanks, Akatsuki Merchant, James. And don't ever try to do anything because people will have a problem with it just for the hell of it. Because remember, this is the anti-everything era.